Hello and welcome to the first ever live stream event of TPS Expeditions. My name is Ryan Noche and I will be your host. If you're interested in learning more about anything college, career, or life, you are indeed in the right place and please stay on. Over the next 6 weeks, we'll have a new edition of TPS Expeditions every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. with a new and exciting expert in the field to help us answer questions, concerns, and thoughts around our three pillars: college, career, and life. Before introducing our esteemed guest for today's deep dive into everything life, remember to feel free to write any appropriate questions you may have in the chat box, and we'll do our very best to answer all of them. However, if we are unable to answer your questions, not to worry. We will be sending out a newsletter with all things discussed and talked about on our TPS Facebook page, the Post-Secondary Virtual Resource Hub, and publishing, hopefully, via podcast in the days to come. Also, we would love and are in need of your input and questions. To share, please go to bit.ly/TPS Expeditions Q. Again, bit.ly/TPS Expeditions Q. Feel free to go in this Google form whenever a question comes up so that we can answer each and every one of them in future programming. This live stream is for you, and we hope to shed some light to possible issues that may seem/are daunting, confusing, or simply in need of a little clarity during these unique times. For today's episode, we have the honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Brandon Oldham, a good friend and professional colleague. He's an upstanding member of our community, a Central Tulsa graduate, a University of Oklahoma grad, and a program officer at the George Kaiser Family Foundation. Let us welcome him, and let me figure it out. Just a few more moments. Technical difficulties. One more second. Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Ryan?
Good, man. Just some technical difficulties. No big deal. No big deal. I appreciate you joining us and
Absolutely.
braving this first episode. You know, technical mishaps and all the unknown. So I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honored.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to have a second face on the screen. So I'm just really curious. Can you just introduce yourself real quick? I gave you a little introduction, but just say who you are,
Sure.
what you're doing, and what we're trying to do here.
Sure. My name is Brandon Oldham. Hopefully I gain a couple of followers from here. Yeah, Tulsa guy, born and bred, grew up here on the north side of Tulsa, attended Walt Whitman Elementary School, Roosevelt Elementary School, Madison Middle School, and then graduated from Central High School, working with the George Kaiser Family Foundation, really focused on how we make sure Tulsa is vibrant and inclusive for years to come.
Cool, man. I appreciate you. Yeah. I'm glad I got your introduction right, so I appreciate that. So right off the bat, I see some people that at Tulsa Public Schools Instagram followers already, so I just want to shout you guys out, and I really appreciate y'all joining and tuning in with me and Brandon today. Just remember, please don't forget to type any appropriate questions in the chat box below for us to see, think through, ruminate on, and answer to the best of our ability. Just so you know, Brandon and everybody else, more or less during the next 15 to 30 minutes, roughly, we're really just trying to answer some questions that have come up and are frequently asked, and just try to shed some light on the current issues and situations about everything life. So if you're ready, I would love to start. You good?
Let's do it. I got my coffee, got my sunlight. I think we're ready to go.
I'm jealous. It's kind of cloudy outside, but we'll do our best. All right, man. So we sat down a few days ago and we just started talking about some questions that people might have. And I think the biggest one, at least for myself and maybe colleagues and even students who are possibly in jobs, just really trying to get to know you is like, do you enjoy working from home? Like, tell us a little bit about it. Like, are things changing? Just share whatever you like.
Yeah, things are definitely changing. So I was definitely remote before this, and so I would, excuse me, always have my laptop, be prepared to set up at coffee shops around Tulsa, meetings with folks, kind of any place that was good for them. But as you could see, and everyone else is experiencing, it's a big shift, and we all need to stay at home where it's safer for everyone. And so I am very social, and so it's a little difficult for me to just stay at home. But I definitely have figured out some routine, including, coming outside just as much as I can just to get some fresh air, a couple of walks, things like that. And in terms of work, really finding a rhythm that works for my creativity, but also works for those who I need to be connecting with and building with. And I think that's been the biggest thing that's helped me.
Yeah, I can echo that full heartedly. That routine is just insane. Just how to get into the rhythm and try to figure out how everything works on a day-to-day basis. So I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always interesting to see and hear people and like their different scenarios. Obviously, are all over the place, paradox and paradigm, and just to
Hmm.
see how they're holding up with everything. And I feel like work, especially, everyone has parents or grandparents or siblings or friends that are going through this whole thing. So it's always intriguing to see what's going on. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
there's a big kind of saying that I've taken to, and that's, you're not in this moment, like we're not just working from home. We're
Yeah.
we're navigating a pandemic from home while continuing to, hopefully be productive. And so just
Yeah.
hopefully everyone's giving themselves the grace and a little bit of understanding, that we're not just home because we want to be. It's actually, there is some things that we need to be working through and make sure we're comfortable with.
Yeah, amen to that. And all those well wishes to the people that aren't able to and are going through a lot harder
Yes,
times than us. So
yes.
yeah, no, I just wanted to go a little blurry. Yes, I mean work too. It's just I mean we're going through obviously our work remote and I'm streaming live via Instagram
Hmm.
for the first time ever via my
Me
phone
too.
in my house. So I'm like, oh my
Me
goodness.
too.
But on the flip side, it's just like all of our students and everything too. Just like right, I mean, going to school is work, so that even is flipped on
Yep.
its head. And just how do
Yep.
you navigate that? So I just want to shout out everybody that's kind of
Right.
doing their
Right.
best and putting their best foot forward. So it's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
there's a lot of worlds colliding right now. If you think
Uh,
about it, it's so
thanks.
easy for us to have the physical separation of going to school and the physical separation of coming home, but now you're doing it all together. And so how do you make sure your bedroom doesn't become, kind of
Uh,
the just the end all be all and everything? You're only looking at those four walls, and hopefully people have the opportunity, really to figure out a way to, as I do, I try to set up shop at the dining room table and just stay there for as long as possible. And then
yeah.
if I need to move around, then I'll move around. So hopefully that way it feels like different settings and not just, me taking everything, work and everything, all around the house.
Yeah, that routine can get boring, no
Hmm.
doubt. It's like
Hmm.
how do you make your big space that you start with, even your small space that you started with,
Yeah.
and make
Yeah.
it seem bigger and not
Hmm.
claustrophobic in a sense. So very cool. I think another question that I've been hearing a lot of through colleges, careers, and students via our survey that we kind of launched. Again, kind of going straight into that. So I mean, we are at home. We are in this kind of very weird space, virtually for life and work. How are you staying connected with just people you know, like family members, friends, and trying to navigate that whole
Yeah, so as both of us just kind of admitted here, this is our first time
thing?
on live. I
Yeah,
have some friends who, Instagram Live is one piece, but it's also, you get the chance now to choose who you're talking to, and so setting up those FaceTimes or those, Google Hangouts or whatever, avenue that people are choosing, but really being intentional about that. I had a group, house party the other night. And that
nice,
was a
nice.
very interesting, app that now everyone's using, and so that's been fun. But not being afraid to just reach out. I'm somebody who I want to make sure that I'm giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, and so I'll give them the chance to, text them and make sure they're free. But really, people are very free and interested in connecting, and so making sure that we're reaching out and we're, connecting with people who we'd want to see all the time, and maybe even people who we want to learn from right now.
Yeah, I feel like we're like it's a very weird. Because like we're more connected but less connected
Yeah.
face to face. But there's just all these applications, right? Zoom, you got House Party, you got Skype if you want to go back, you have Facebook Live, you got Instagram Live,
Hmm.
you got FaceTime, you got the whole thing. So it's pretty wild. But I've noticed the same thing. It's like how do you plan those things intentionally, whether you're just trying to say
Yep.
hi and speak for 5 seconds or 40
Hmm.
minutes, and
Hmm.
do people actually want to do it? And
Yeah, yeah. We had my sister-in-law reached out, and we planned a little a little birthday party for my wife, and so we
nice.
sat, everyone just sat here. We got on the screen together. It was her
Mhm.
birthday, just as many other people are having birthdays during this pandemic, and wanting, people want to celebrate you, and so how do we make sure that people have the opportunity to do that too?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've celebrated 3 birthdays to date so
Yeah.
far in the last month via Zoom, and I think another one's like bingo next week. So you
Hmm.
can even do activities online if
Yeah.
you're trying to do it. So you get creative for sure. I'm sure the younger generation's a whole breath ahead of us as well.
Well, I
So
completely agree. I think that's one of the things is, as I think about some of them, my nieces and nephews, like this is just second nature to them. They sit
oh my
around on
goodness,
FaceTime all the time and know how to use
definitely.
these different technologies. And so for us, it's making sure that we lean into it. I always like to say, ride the wave, don't fight
Yeah, I thought I was technical savvy until we went to this remote virtual life, and I just have a whole thing to learn. So. But yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. Well, I appreciate that in look or the outlook rather.
it.
So I think so. We kind of broached in that situation of how do you connect with friends, like how do you hang out? Although it might look a little bit different, right? You're still staying in contact, learning about it. The conversation might be more boring or more interesting. I'm not sure, depending on who you are. But is that like your big plays? Like, is that how we stay safe right now? Is just like staying connected virtually? Like, are there other avenues that we can do best to kind of help each other out while helping ourselves out, move this
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
pandemic
I think
forward?
I would say the biggest thing is like there's so much information coming out, whether that's from the Tulsa Health Department who keeps
Yeah,
everything up to date and has been doing a phenomenal job. Complete, shout out, kudos, big applause to Dr. Bruce Dart and his staff there.
absolutely.
And really listening to what they put out, doing a little bit of reading because the best thing we can do is be a resource for everyone. And so as we inform ourselves, then we can be a resource. And so making sure that if you have questions and you're researching it, be sure to share that with people, and not be afraid to. I think
Yeah,
that's one of the pieces now. The more information that we put out, the more things that people can see, and just as Mayor Bynum is sharing and others, are seeing, like we really do need to stay at home. As much as I
yeah, for
would
sure.
not want to, but making sure that we're staying at home and just like many other things that are happening right now. Like the new information is coming out every day, and so just making sure you're staying on top of that, and sharing it as we were saying.
No, absolutely. It's like super disheartening and uplifting at the same
Hmm.
time to see everybody kind of pull together in the hopefully in their best light of sorts. But yeah, I want to say just in regards to the information, I feel like there's like so much, especially for TPS and other organizations, and sometimes it can kind of get lost along the way.
Hmm.
So a personal plug for TPS. I know if we go to our personal page, you can actually find those specific resources, and we'll make sure they are very visible and ready to go. Especially not even like Tulsa Public Schools, not even like George Kaiser Family Foundation, but just general CDC guidelines and
Exactly.
newest Tulsa World reports, because
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of those things kind of get hidden or pushed back, and you kind of get confused in the sense of like what's real, what's right, and all those things as well. So
Yeah, that's one of the pieces around, like, we continue to look at like where can people go for this information, and
yeah,
some of it is going to be on social media, but in the, like, being a little more crafty and sifting
yeah,
through to find a little more saturation to your to what you're finding. But then also, there's the city of Tulsa's website. There's 211. There's Root Tulsa that's coming up with a relief fund. Excuse me, not a fund, but a relief page so people can find
okay.
those resources. And then Tulsa Responds, is another website. So there's quite a few of them out there. But again, how do we make sure that people know about them?
Yeah, it's what's true and trustworthy, and you can kind of
Hmm.
use without having to dig as deep as you want to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always an interesting place to navigate normally, let alone right now when it's even more important. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's do a little swerve. So we talked a little bit about connectivity and where can I go for help. We talked a little bit about like CDC and Mayor Biden's page and Tulsa Facebook and all those things. On a completely different lens, like, is there specific things that we can do personally to like keep us safe? Sure, we can go and do hangouts, we can be informed. Is there specific things we can do on the ground to help each other out, like volunteer wise or other situations that you know of personally?
Yeah, if you feel comfortable, and truly, like I said, I don't want to put anyone to put themselves in a difficult situation. But if you feel
For sure.
comfortable, and can abide by, as we go out, like just appropriate social distancing norms, um, there's opportunities, whether that be picking up meals from the Dream Center and delivering
For
them,
sure.
to different places. There's opportunities at some of the local churches and other nonprofits who are really getting out and making sure that people have food in this time. That's another
Yeah.
thing that we have completely pivoted our work. within GKFF to make sure that we're assisting those people right now. And I think Hunger Free Oklahoma is another organization that's doing some great work and that could use some volunteers at some of those feeding sites, as well
Hmm.
as our food bank is
Sure, sure.
also being just a cornerstone organization to make sure that Tulsans are getting the appropriate nutrition that they need right now.
No, absolutely. It's awesome to hear that we kind of swerved as a kind of a Tulsa community as well. So
Hmm.
hopefully a lot of positive things come out of this, not just now, but in the future and moving forward. We kind of
Yeah,
learn a little bit about ourselves and our organizations to kind of best help each other
yeah.
in
I
definite
think
future.
I think there's so many things right now that we're going to be, at the end of this, or should I say, at the conclusion of this, not necessarily the end, as we conclude
Yeah,
this phase, because it is going to be a marathon.
for sure, for
But
sure.
making sure, I think there's going to be some opportunities that come up that we had no idea that we could do together, and I think it's going to make us all stronger.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, that stronger piece, because I know a lot of forefront of people's minds, and like Tulsa and just in general with high schools especially, is all these activities have been either postponed or
Hmm.
suspended or like are kind of up in the air, and there's no real answers going
Yeah.
forward. I mean, that right, that's to do with like prom, fundraisers, items
Hmm.
outside of school such as commencement, you have signing day, all these crazy events that are very rooted and like
Yeah.
paramount for like them understanding
Hmm.
like all the successes they had moving forward. I'm curious on a side lens, is that pretty similar in the nonprofit sector, in the organizations and stuff like that? Is it a pretty similar situation that's happening there? You kind of have to figure it out, work through it, and move on, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, everything. As you can imagine, once the information came out originally, about this virus and people were learning more, and our
Yeah,
elected officials started to share like, hey, you shouldn't be in groups of 500 or more. Then it went down to 250. Then it went down to 50, and then it went
yeah,
down to 10. And so as those numbers go down, so do those types of events that we're looking to host and really curate for our
sure.
community. And so we have to pivot as well, and give ourselves the space to think through that. But it's harder for me because much of my work was showcasing Tulsa. And so
Hmm.
as we think through how do you showcase a community now, and really still continue to get the heart and the essence of what Tulsa is. And you know um, I think there's a lot of creative Tulsans, and I often go back to I watched this episode of well, a show on Netflix that
Okay.
when Dave Chappelle won the Mark Twain Award, and
Uh-huh.
they told this story about him coming on to Saturday Night Live to host, immediately after the 2016 election, and he walked
Hmm.
in and he felt kind of this despair in the air, and he said, "This is exactly the time artists go to work." And I think that's exactly what we're seeing here in Tulsa right now. We haven't seen the fruits of it just yet, but a lot of our
Hmm.
Tulsa community, the artist community, are really they're going to work right now, and there's going to be some really
Yeah.
cool things that come out from this. And I'm looking forward to how to help them get on a proper platform and really help them to showcase what's happening, or help to showcase them to Tulsa so that people can see, what people are creating right here under their noses.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, in any facet, it's just like right. You have the educators, you have the nonprofits, you have the
Hmm.
musicians, and you kind of see this, especially if you're online all day. Friends
Yep.
of mine and just individuals that you have no idea are going out there and starting new platforms,
Hmm.
whether it be to raise money for themselves, so they can make a living musically, or if it's a teacher going home and having no idea how to use technology, and now having to figure that out and just stuff
Yeah.
like that it's wild. It's just out of
Yeah.
control to
I've
see some of the
also
stuff
been
happening.
I've also been very, very blown away by watching some of the students and the kids, specifically getting on FaceTimes or having recesses together. It's been really
Yeah,
cute, and just seeing that, we talk about the screen being. I know for me, it's somewhat of a hindrance at times, but
for
you
sure.
cannot really downplay the significance of the human spirit that still comes through when you're looking
Mhm.
at somebody moving and having a conversation with them.
I just love how people are using the resources they have via the internet, such as
Hmm.
like some individuals are using like Minecraft for commencement, and they have
Yeah.
like FaceTime for birthday parties, and they have like house party for just like saying hey and staying connected
Yeah.
with multiple people, and it's just these pivots upon pivots upon
Yep.
pivots of just
And
awesome things that are kind of coming out of this. So that's it's always nice to see.
yeah,
So
I've been very, very, I won't call it surprised. I've been very like just excited about the ways in which, some of our smartest folks and really creative folks, sometimes the system that we're trying to, work in and work on, it doesn't allow for that type of innovation. But a problem like this that we're
sure.
all really streamlined on, knowing that we have to figure out a way to solve. All of a sudden, you have some of the best experts, both in
Yeah.
Tulsa public schools, in our government system, in our nonprofit communities, and you have all these people now who are just innovating, and it's
Sure.
a cool thing to watch, and I can't wait to see exactly what comes out of it. I've had the opportunity to really work closely with Tulsa Economic Development Corporation, and
Very cool.
how, we're really looking at serving even our small businesses in this time and making sure that they're connected.
Hmm.
And everyone gets on the call and it's just like, hey, what do we need to do and how can we do this? And it's just great to see.
Yeah, it's that growth mindset of sorts. Yeah,
Hmm.
I recently someone talked to me and they said a very specific phrase, right? It's like this situation, although it's mind blowing. It's a pandemic. It's like this thing that we never thought we could see coming. But they made the comment that it's like a bridge to what was going to happen anyways, not in regards to pandemic wise, but in regards to
Yeah.
virtual reality, and it's kind of helping us figure out and navigate that field much quicker and trying to get us to the next stage of
Hmm.
whatever the world brings us,
Yeah.
virtually and remotely. So that was an interesting take on it. So I appreciated that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's been truly, as I was saying, like just kind of inspiring. I was, looking at, I typically get on Instagram, you're just kind of thumbing through, looking around, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, this is where everyone is, right? And so you just see people
Yeah.
consuming what other people's creativity is. You see people being more and more innovative in their art forms, and then
TikTok for life, man.
right, some people who did not know they had that level of rhythm are now embracing
Hmm.
that, and you see these great things happening.
I would love to see you go on that. I'm going to stay off for now. We'll see what happens. Oh man, that's an awesome segue point though. My last real question is: we've covered like the safety issues, we covered like what's going on the ground. There's tons of other things to talk about, obviously, but I'm really curious. Like, what are like some things you're doing to stay busy, to have fun, just activities wise at home and around the house or in the yard, that just keep you sane, I guess.
Yeah, well, I am. Okay, this is going to be a confession that most people know already, but I'll throw it out there.
All
So
right,
so
I'll
students,
keep your
if you're
secret.
watching, it's okay. But I am definitely a self-diagnosed as well as self-medicated sneakerhead, and so I was not wearing shoes, and I'd say about a weekend, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, Lavanya Bennett, who's a psychologist, and she asked me what I'm doing that I would typically do that brings me joy, and how can I enhance that? And I said, well, I haven't worn shoes in about 10 days. And I just started to wear shoes, and so I've been wearing shoes, and that's very
Nice.
helpful. And so I've worn these a couple of times, but I wanted to make sure I show everybody
Oof.
the Paris to NYC Jordan ones. But that's been very helpful. The other thing is I've been checking in with, you know, um, I'd say I have a cadence of how I check in with folks, and I try to make sure that
Sure.
I'm continuing to do that. The other thing that was super exciting is some good friends of mine had a baby, and so that was something that I was very very excited to be a part of, and that
Hmm.
helped, really to bring some joy and some inspiration as we are staying at home. So that
Yeah,
was pretty
absolutely.
fun. I tried the workout routine, so I was I
You
was on
tried
that
it,
for
it failed already?
yeah. I'm restarting. We'll put it that way. I'm restarting.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's so many out there. The 30-day challenges are
Right.
all over the place. And I know personally for me, yeah, I mean, I've been writing and just saying like things I'm grateful for. I mean, confession, I started trying to learn how to juggle. There's just all these weird things. You're just like, well, I've had this in my house. I might as well try take a stab at it, I guess. So
Yeah. I will say
it's a weird world.
one of the things that I was kind of surprised by. I uh, as I used to work alongside Mayor Bynum, we would always talk about like different books, and he
Hmm.
challenged me on memoirs, and so I've
Oof.
read, in just since the time we've staying at home, I've probably read 4 to 5 memoirs, and it really is a way to walk in someone's shoes.
Yeah.
I just couldn't
That's
stop consuming.
That's awesome. You got a specific recommendation, or just go for memoirs and just do it up?
um, Well, this tells a lot about me here.
You don't have to share. You don't have to share. I'm just curious
No,
personally.
it's all good. It's all good. I read Rick Ross Hurricanes.
Okay.
That's a good one. And it's interesting to see some of these things because we've lived through these times, and so you saw them play out. But now you get to go back and see what people's mindsets were when they were actually involved in them as well. So I read
Hmm.
Rick Ross's memoir Hurricanes. Read Lamar Odom's From Darkness to Light. Shout out to Fulton Street Books. This is where I got a majority of these.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
let's see, what are some others that I'm currently on Trevor Noah, Born a Crime,
Ooh, that's a good
and
one.
yeah, that's a good one. As well as 11 Rings by Phil Jackson.
Hmm. Haven't read that one. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, memoirs, biographies, there's so many out there, especially nowadays, and they've actually written
Hmm.
them into like a lens of a story, and it's just
Exactly.
mind blowing, and just the stuff people do, and the things that they get into, and how they get out of it is
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
yeah.
So,
And some of them,
yeah.
I even think about it now, like how we're living through this time, right? Like there's going to be some really, really interesting memoirs and books that come
Oh
out of
man,
this, just based on what people are
indeed.
experiencing.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I like want to start like a book club now, or like go onto TPS and like start this recommendation activity list. We'll see what we can do for those listening. But that's super awesome to hear that people are just kind of diving into what's already there and taking something and becoming better for it. So very cool, man. That time has flown by, as you well stated when we first met up. So I appreciate that. So I just want to take a moment and just say thank you so much, Brandon. Like this has been awesome. Like just kind of digging into your thoughts and just really just trying to help us answer some of these questions about life. So especially in this new reality that's just kind of
Hmm.
happened and kind of fell upon us in the last few weeks. So I just want to say personally, like I truly appreciate you like opening our eyes, speaking
Absolutely.
to some issues, and just seeing how we can help. So I know that you're kind of out there in the Instagram world. So if people are trying to find you or hear more about what's going on, I know you're all ears. But I just want to say thank you. Wish you safe and enjoyable week, and I just appreciate you. So thanks, man.
Thanks. You
I'm
too.
gonna
You too.
yeah, man. I'm gonna kick you off my co-host and just end this. So those listening, if you just stay on for like one more minute, I know just you're out of here, and I'll tell you a
It
little bit
was
more
fun.
about what's going on next. See you, dude. Appreciate
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Hey all. So I've seen you guys all commenting and joining us and just hanging out with us for the last 30 or so minutes, and I truly appreciate you. TPS truly appreciates you, and we're really excited to continue this whole situation with you going forward. So with that being said, remember, like we need all of your help. We need your questions, we need your thoughts, we need your minds. We need this to really create a library of questions to discuss and that are simply in need of answering. So to participate and continue this work, I ask you to follow the link or QR code that you can see on our Facebook page. And if it's not there already, I'm going to try to make sure it's up and about after this episode. And really just follow that and just begin typing away as best as you can with anything you really want to know that we can speak towards. We really want your most pressing questions that haven't been answered or simply ones that you think others would simply benefit from hearing. So feel free to reach out anytime in this form, and we'll simply do our best to answer each and every one of them. But more or less, I like hope this platform, as you know, TPS Expeditions has been engaging and will continue to be engaging, helpful, and become crucial piece of college, career, and life exploration in the coming days, weeks, and even months. We'll see how this actually lasts, and we're here for you. So simply remember to write down your questions, send them our way, and then tune into Instagram live stream at Tulsa Public Schools as you currently are. But this Thursday, April 16th at 10 a.m., we'll actually have Calvin McKinney from TCC speaking to all things college. You might know him as the individual handing out iPads during college and career fair. So he's a wealth of knowledge. I'm pretty excited to sit down and talk with him. But again, we're going to go through all of your questions, all of your concerns, type them up and create an FAQ page that you can go back to, listen to, and even see this recording moving forward. So shout out to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And simply, stay safe. Thanks, guys.